Hi, I'm here with Marvel writer Phillip Johnson. He writes Infernal Hulk, as well as multiple titles for DC, Batman and Robin, the Fellspire Chronicles, and he just signed a multi-year contract with Marvel.
Good. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be with you.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
So I wanted to ask about your Infernal Hulk run.
Okay,
It's
sure.
been a phenomenal book so far. The Incredible Hulk run that preceded it before was also amazing.
Thanks, man.
And I want to know, is there a Hulk writer or a run that influences your own work on the character?
Man, as far as the Hulk writers, I mean, I would have to say Al Ewing. I mean, Al's run on Immortal Hulk was so beautifully done. I love it. If I had to pick one influence, it would be that one. I love bringing the Hulk back to his horror roots. I mean, Stan Lee has spoken, often about just the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde / Frankenstein kind of influences on the original idea for the character. How the main character is the monster of the movie. So Al bringing it back to that was just beautifully done. I also really love the Greg Pak run, best known for the Hulk. Again, just great story. There are specific parts of the Peter David run I think are really great that I also think of, but the ones that I come back to the most often in my mind, the ones that just like snap to attention when I think about the most influential stories are the Greg Pak and the Al Ewing. Other influences on the story are Hellboy, honestly, the work of Mike Mignola, the films of Del Toro. This is going to sounds like I'm getting in the weeds here, but the work of Carl Jung, the psychologist. Like this, I know this sounds silly to compare that kind of stuff to comic books. Like Jung's work was so broad and touches on so many things, but Jung's work with his ideas on archetypes, on like the animus that people have inside them, the ego self, I'm drawing a blank on some of this, but like the persona that you present to the world, the quote unquote shadow that's like underneath all that,
Yes.
like the persona and the shadow are so clearly Banner and Hulk, the way that Jung perceived them. And then there's this thing called the anima or the animus, where Jung believed that men had like a subliminal, subconscious, like female element, like a woman for a male or a male for a woman. And you can see those three things together. Ideally, will eventually become like the self, like the whole self. And in the story, that's kind of wrapped up in Banner, Hulk, and Charlie. And the way that they make up this quote unquote hate triangle between them, where they all have different relationships with each other, and that's kind of where that idea came from.
That's amazing.
So I know it's more than that's a bigger answer than you probably intended, but that's the truth of it. Like I've been reading more of Jung's work, and the persona and the shadow are so clearly taken from that idea. I kind of wanted to bring more of it into the story.
That's impressive. I love philosophy, and
Oh, really?
I think that's like,
That's cool.
yeah, I think that's like, you explain that really well. The difference between like the shadow and like how Hulk is kind of like a persona.
Yeah. There's other. If you read my entire Hulk run, which is not done yet, but like even just seeing what there is so far, you'll see other archetypes as well. Like those are the persona, the shadow, and the anima or the animus is probably the most important, prominent part of his ideas. But there are other archetypes that also show up, like the trickster. We had the giant-sized Hulk issue that dealt with, what was his name? The guy in the train. Patchwork Jack was very clearly the trickster. There's ideas like the hero, the child god. There's other things that show up in the run that just are very, very, very loosely based on those ideas of archetypes and how I like the idea of the Hulkscape, or all these different personalities that all the different versions of Hulk that we've seen over the years. It's just I know it's being a big philosophy / psychology nerd, but it feels like a Jung story. All the different archetypes that are in his mind already, and what they represent and how they could combine to become one person by the end.
That's impressive. Applying philosophy to a character like Hulk is like so appropriate. And
Yeah,
like
that's the beauty of the character. Like it's a concept that any little kid can get. Any little kid can see a Hulk book, be like, it's a rage monster. You know, I get that.
yes.
You know, I understand. But if you really do a deep dive, it can be a story like Hulk can be a metaphor for so many things. You can just keep diving further and further into the idea of what a Hulk represents and tell a really meaningful, complex story that somebody that wants a little more meat to the bone from their stories can also find it.
I feel like you really put that on display with like we were talking earlier about the issue 27, which seems to be like rather self-contained within its own run. You spoke about how like regular people can be monsters. Do you think that's like just running thing throughout your run?
Yeah, the whole question of the question that's on the cover of issue 1. Like, is he man? Is he monster? Or is he both? That was something that Al Ewing explored a lot in his Immortal Hulk run, and I don't know. I think it's important to ask that question throughout the book. Like, what does it mean to be a monster? Can Hulk be the hero? Is Hulk a hero or not? Like he's the monster of the movie. Can he also be a hero? He's been an Avenger. Sometimes we see him in a very heroic light. Other times he's a huge problem for other heroes to solve. It's just a question that you have to be asking all the way through any Hulk story. Like he can be a hero, and he often does heroic things, but he is also hella destructive.
Yes.
And he's only ever been a pain in the ass for characters like Tony Stark and all that, but he's also saved the world over and over again. So I wanted to explore some questions like that in the back of the issues with the remembrances of Eldest, where very often at the end of a story, when a monster has been killed or beaten, Eldest gives this little lament or elegy for the monster that we just saw get killed, like about Golgotha, the living city, or Brother Deep, Udru, or Frozen Charlotte, the fallen angel, and Vinruvial, the mother of horrors. And I wanted one for just a mortal man who was also a monster, because pretty much everyone knows monsters in real life. They walk among us.
Yes.
And I want to explore how that happens. I want to talk about, like, is this person also a monster? I have to believe yes. I mean, Hulk is not a monster the way that we think. He is a monster, but he's not a monster in that he's not a force of evil the way some people can be. And I like the idea of seeing Hulk as the heroic, or at least a vengeful figure, punishing the actual monster of the story, which is a living mortal man. And just that contrast, like you might see in a Del Toro film.
Yes. I feel like that's a really strong thing to portray, because especially in comic books, supervillains are so over the top.
Right.
That it really is that everyday evil that can really hit home.
Yeah.
In an issue.
I mean, that particular issue, 27, was about people I knew in real life.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's common material with the story, like Beauty and the Beast or something, where you see somebody like Gaston and the Beast come to a head, where like the big heroic looking mortal man, like the beautiful looking guy, faces the freak show, and the freak, of course, is trying to protect the woman he loves from this monstrous person. Or like Del Toro's The Shape of Water, which is very clearly a Beauty and the Beast kind of story, where like you've got this this river god, or if that's how you want to perceive him, or just a freak show fish person, or however you perceive this creature. He's either beautiful or hideous, and he's up against this guy that should be virtuous, like this this quote unquote heroic federal agent guy who's the proud, virtuous, white Christian dude who's supposed to be all the things that they put on TV, but he's a monster, clearly, and seeing those two people come together at the end of that film, like that contrast of beauty and horror and violence and love, that's stuff that Del Toro captures in his films. That's the kind of stuff that I want to put in this book.
You've done an amazing job of it, in my opinion.
Thank you, man.
That's amazing. And well, you actually kind of already answered my second question, but I want to ask you. I know in the Infernal Hulk, There's supposed to be an upcoming kind of crossover with X-Men. Can you speak to anything about that?
Oh man, what can I spoil? I will say that what you see in that chapter, I think that people will see that issue come to a close. Like, oh, I want to see more. There's more coming. So there is going to be Hulk versus X-Men for sure in that issue, and it's a fun fight for sure. I don't want to spoil what's coming, but God, what can I say? We'll say that Infernal Hulk has really big plans for various populations of Earth, for the monsters of Earth that he's found, but he also has an element of control over the mutant population.
Okay.
And he wants them to join him as well. And because of that, we see him go up against the X-Men. And the end of that issue is not the end of that conflict. Like, Hulk still has big plans for X-Men and for mutant kind, I should say. And that's going to play out all the way until the very end of Hulk War and everything next year. So this issue that you're about to see with Hulk versus the X-Men, we see him up against like Magneto and Magic and these really cool characters. There's a lot left to do there, and I can't wait for everyone to see the whole story.
I'm so excited. I'm a major X-Men fan.
I'm so glad.
I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Man, when that's how I came to Marvel. Like when in the '90s, man, that was when if you were not an X-Men fan, you were just trash. Like back then, that was the cartoon was humming, the movies were starting to come out, the books were like Jim Lee and Joe Mad, and back then it was just such a big deal. It just sucked all the air out of the room from all the other books. It was such an amazing time for the X books. So getting to just to start to explore those characters now is just so unbelievably fun.
I gotta ask, do you have a favorite X-Men?
I gotta say Wolverine.
Wolverine. That's
I mean,
great
I
answers.
know it's low hanging fruit. Everyone loves Wolverine, but I love him too, and I envision him as being so old. I want to see him older than he is. Mm-hmm. But also I think he had this rich, complicated life, his history before the X-Men, and he's going to have he's got a lot of life left to live after the X-Men are gone. You know, he's this thing that like I want to see him as like this endless, immortal companion to humanity that will just always be there. Will be there after us. You know.
Oh, that's
even though he's just like this little, scowly guy that just kind of smokes and hangs out with us, he's going to be around when we're gone, and I love that idea. I want to see more of his history, so I love that character. I also really love Magneto. I love that, for me, he kind of represents the idea that the best villains think they're the good guy. I don't want to see just one-dimensional cackly villains that are just, I'm evil, going to blow up the world for no reason kind of guy. I want to see somebody who believes they're doing the right thing.
Yes.
That have like a point of view that they defend, that can be defended. I want my readers to see the bad guy and be like, are they right? I want them, even if they're not right, even if they're a murderer, I want them to at least ask the question, what if could they be right, or at least did they come to this horrible place was the beginning of that road a place of good intentions?
Is that how you say you would approach the current villains you're writing with the Eldest and
usually
Infernal Hulk?
Yeah, Eldest sees us as just we weren't even supposed to be here. They were she remembers, Eldest predates the concept of gender. It's one of the very first, the oldest creature, the oldest child of the mother, of course, that is still around. And the age of monsters is what Eldest remembers, and what's we're the aberration, not her. At least that's the perspective. So they're just trying to right a wrong. To something like Eldest, God represents the patriarchy that we never asked for.
That is, I love that.
Yeah. So it's this the one above all created Earth, and just and the rest of the universe doesn't give a shit about us. Earth is our place. What do you care what's happening here? This is we were born here. So to them, Earth, something like Eldest, Earth belongs to monsters, is what they deserve it. Everything else is just the big mistake that shouldn't have happened. So Eldest definitely skews more evil than my preferred usual villain. Yes. But they definitely have their perspective, and one that they defend. I can't wait for the beginning of the Free Comic Book Day book that's coming.
Yes.
At the very beginning, Eldest kind of lays it out there. There's a monologue that Eldest talks about that perspective. Heroes versus villains. What is a hero versus a monster? The monsters are just there to test the hero, blah blah blah. But which one is which? Don't they both? They both protect their young from winter and from the hunter and from it's just perspective. The winner decides which one is a hero and which one is the monster. But this time, I'm going to be the fucking winner. So anyway, I can't wait for you to see it.
I'm so excited. That sounds incredible.
Thanks.
I want to ask, like, you've obviously been killing it with so many titles across Marvel and like before DC. Mm-hmm. Are there any other Marvel characters or titles that you want to get your hands on and write?
Yeah, this is not a spoiler. I'm not saying what books I'm doing, but books I would love to do. I would love to write Wolverine. I would love to write Bucky, Winter Soldier. I think of them as like one. I think of them as Bucky. Almost like a True Detective kind of story where we see modern day and then we see what happened years ago. I would love to see a story that covers him as a psycho teenager in World War II, but also as the actual Winter Soldier when he was still like under, and then present day Winter Soldier. I would love to see a story that deals with all those chapters in his life. And again, that's not a spoiler. That's not greenlit. That's just what I want to do. I always want to do more Hell Hunters. I love that book as my passion project. To write like the Team X-Men books would be a great honor. I feel like the X books carry a weight of responsibility similar to what Superman does. Like Superman, when you're writing a Superman story, you're writing a story about how best to be human. X-Men's different. X-Men is a story about what it's like to be the other thing. And I know people in like the music community or art community or other communities that don't know shit about comics except that they love X-Men because they grew up as the other thing, whether they're a minority or whether they're LGBTQ or whatever the thing is. Like they identify with and love the X-Men.
I've always felt that X-Men fans really do have a very deep and like personal connection with the characters, and that was what initially kind of got me into comics and superheroes. And it's just they're very special to me. But
it would be a great honor to write the X books. God, what else? I think Moon Knight's super cool. Moon Knight is as crazy as Batman should have been. You know what I mean? So to write like a proper crazy Moon Knight sounds pretty fun. God, there's so many things. They got so many great characters. I don't feel like Marvel really has like a proper Constantine kind of character. I have an idea for a book that I would love to do that would basically bring in a character like that. It would start like almost like a Doctor Strange book, but not really. And just to kind of lay the seeds for this new character, I would love to do that. I'm probably talking too much.
Oh, you're fine. It's kind of branching off of that. Can I ask, like, as a writer, is it difficult to pitch new characters? Because I think about like new original characters that aren't like legacy taking on the mantle, and I can barely think of any that have come out in recent years, at least too many. Is that a difficult process, or can you speak on that process, like how it goes?
I typically kind of end up fishing books almost by accident in the room at the Marvel summits. Like we'll be talking about something, and like Dungeons of Doom showed up completely out of just organically from conversation at the Marvel Summit. So for those who don't know, the Marvel Summit is when a lot of the more prominent writers at Marvel will come together with the editors and just literally around a big table and just talk about story, about what's coming. People will talk about what they're doing in their upcoming books, and they'll just kind of bounce ideas off of each other. They'll talk about ways in which the different stories can organically connect. And sometimes really cool ideas will come out of those stories. Like when we were talking about what was going to be happening, this is a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, we were talking about what was going to be coming up with all the Doom stuff that is now passed. And when we discovered that there was going to be, that we were going to see Doom's castle in Latveria without Doom in it, like after he had died, I kind of was like, can I jump in here? Like, what's in that castle? I want to see what's in there. Like, what if there was like an arms race between the U.S. and Hydra and Latvian freedom fighters, like a militia type people, or a kind of a super spy agent character from Wakanda or whatever. Like, and they all want whatever is in there. Like, there's a big firefight and there's cave in, and we see these dungeons that no one knew were there, and there's all these secret horrors that Doom has been hiding from the world or protecting us from. And then they're stuck down there, and they're all there for their own reasons. Maybe they're looking for a specific thing, or maybe they're just trying to kill someone else that's down there. Or like they're still like they're just shooting each other while they're down there, but they just start opening up doors trying to get out or to find a particular thing. And every issue is like another door. Like what's another thing? Like a Tales from the Crypt style book. And I was just so excited about that book, man. And that became what is now Dungeons of Doom. So at the lunch break, one of the editors came up to me and was like, "Dude, you gotta write that fucking book, man. Like we're doing that book, right?" And then like Ben Percy came up to me. Ben's a good friend. And he's like, "I gotta be part of that book." I'm like, let's do it. So we started putting the ideas together. That all just grew out of a conversation at the table. I pitched a couple other books that way at this last summit that I very much hope to do. I was just talking about one possibility for a book that we might do, and I was surprised by the strength of the reaction by some of the editors. They're like, "Oh my god, that sounds awesome! We got to do it." So now we're going to do one of those books.
Awesome. I look forward to finding out what that is in the future. But going back to like other series that you want to potentially write, are there any artists that you want to work with in the future?
Oh my god, so many. I mean, Nick Klein on Hulk has been a dream come true to work with. Yeah, Nick, I'd love to work with Nick forever. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you.
Nice work. Thank you.
Thank you. God, what else? Ryan Stegman's awesome. We've just recently become friends, and he's amazing. God, there's so many. There's a guy that I did a creator own thing with back in the day, named Steve Beach. He is a horror savant. He's just so unbelievably good at horror stuff. And he did a lot of covers for me at DC. You mentioned Felspire Chronicles. He did the spin-off issue of Felspire with Jan Waters. He's amazing. I'd love to work with him. He's kept very busy, so he'll probably do covers, but I'd love to do at least a short story or something. His instincts for horror are so unbelievably good. I think Scotty Young is a genius. Everyone knows him for his covers, but I would love to do a different kind of story with him. I could go on and on. I mean, God, who else? There's a couple of artists I'm about to work with that I shouldn't spoil because that's already coming together. Kev Walker, man. Kev Walker has been one of the fill-in artists on Hulk. And that guy has been he's done a lot of like cards and things for Magic and other things. But also his comics work goes back years and years, and the issues of Hulk he did for us just got better and better. It's unbelievable. I did a book called Warlords of Appalachia with Jonas Scharf, a great German artist, and I hope to work with Jonas again soon. Sorry, Jonas is how he says it in German. Everyone over here calls him Jonas, but anyway, I'd love to work with him again on something new. Yeah, I could just go on.
Oh, that's awesome.
A lot of great talent there right now.
I'm really rooting for you on those collaborations. So I hope they all come true. That sounds exciting. Do you think your background in music and the military ever informs your approach to storytelling?
Yeah, for sure. In music, musicians just kind of, the best musicians kind of lose their identity in the work. Like they really just stretch their ears and just really pay close attention to what everyone else is doing all the time and try to let whatever they're doing just bleed into everything else and just let it be part of the whole, And that's just good collaboration and whatever kind of thing you're doing. Whenever you're working with a team of any kind, it's so important to lose your identity and your preciousness with the thing that you're doing and let it be a cohesive part of the whole and just really pay attention to what everyone else is doing. Like as a student, I remember hearing the difference between practice and rehearsal. Like practice is when you learn your own part, and rehearsal is when you learn everyone else's part, and the two should never touch. You should practice your own craft on your own, get better at your skills on your instrument. But then when you're actually making the thing with everyone else, that's when you learn what everyone else is doing and how your part fits in. So that's what making comics is, just losing your identity in the whole thing.
Your answers have been so incredible. Thank you again for your time. Really, the last thing is, do you have anything that you want to plug to the camera?
I'm doing a creator own that should be out next year with one of my best friends in comics. I shouldn't spoil beyond that, but you'll see my love for the storytelling of Mignola and Del Toro in it. And I'm very excited for it. Let's see what else. yeah, I can't really talk about any of the stuff I'm doing, but there's going to be a big announcement this summer
Okay.
for my next Marvel series. I will say I was working on a passion project at Marvel that I am still working on. I can't wait for it to come out. But as that comes together, that was actually backburnered a bit to make space for this other big, really exciting project that was more time sensitive. I cannot wait for everyone to see what that is. It's the biggest book of my career, probably. And I can't wait for you to see it. It's going to be dope as hell.
I can't wait to see it either. That's incredible. And like, I guess the main question I asked: are there any other genres of like comics that you want to work, that you want to write that you haven't necessarily done? Or?
I'm about to do like a comedy crossover at Marvel that I'm really excited for, because people are starting to know me for the creepy stuff. I need to not let that. I need to not get too pigeonholed. I do love that stuff, but I do need to try to keep my other muscles fresh too. So doing a comedy thing soon, which will be really fun. Mystery is really fun. Mystery or like spy stories. I got to do a James Bond story kind of recently. That was really fun. I'd love to do more of that kind of thing. And I have an idea for a book I could do like that at Marvel as well, which I'm looking forward to. I'd love to do more high fantasy soon. I have a couple ideas for that as well, at Marvel, but also elsewhere. So yeah.
That's incredible. Thank you again so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thank you. This is talking with Phillip Kennedy Johnson, writer of Infernal Hulk and many, many other great titles. Check out his work on his website. It's
philipkennedyjohnson.com. I'm also all over social media, all the Twitter descendants at Philip K. Johnson, and Facebook under my full name, Instagram Philip K. Johnson. So yeah, hit me up.